There's something comforting about listening to everyday people ask real questions out loud. Not polished questions, not expert questions, just honest ones. And I'll be honest with you. At different points in my life, I've carried every one of these questions. Some of them I've solved, and some of them I'm still working on. Loneliness. Watching your kids grow into strangers and then back into themselves. Loving someone and realizing you can't control where their dreams pull them. You'd think, after doing life this long, it would get easier, but sometimes it's the opposite. You end up with more questions than answers. I'm learning every day, and today I want to share 4 stories from regular people, people from all walks of life, and a few clear lessons I learned from a spiritual teacher who has a rare way of cutting through confusion without being harsh. The first story comes from a man in his 70s. He's financially stable. He has time. His body has aged, but his heart doesn't feel finished. He says, almost quietly, "I want to meet someone. Not necessarily for romance. Just companionship. But I don't know how anymore. I don't know what I'm supposed to do." What struck me wasn't his age. It was the way he asked, like he needed permission to want connection. The response he heard was disarmingly simple. Stop making it complicated. If there's someone you're interested in, have coffee, eat together, talk. That's it. Be honest about what you want. Listen carefully to what they want. If you want friendship, say that. If the other person wants more, that doesn't make them wrong, and it doesn't make you cruel. It just means you're not aligned. What stayed with me was this reminder. At a certain point in life, you don't lose freedom, you gain clarity. You know your limits now. You know your boundaries. You don't need to abandon yourself to please someone. And I realized how often we quietly tell ourselves it's too late for something our heart still wants. When the truth is, we've never been clearer about who we are. The second story comes from a mother of 3. Her children are in adolescence, but she says they're actually coping better than she is. She imagined that by now, she'd be the calm one, the anchor. Instead, she feels anxious, depleted, ashamed of her own emotions. She says, "I just want my kids to be happy, but I don't even know how to be happy myself." The response she received didn't sugarcoat things, but it didn't blame her either. Adolescence isn't a problem to fix. It's the process of becoming an adult. Children don't grow by obeying forever. They grow by questioning, by resisting, by trying things out and making mistakes. If a child always follows instructions, they don't become independent. They become dependent. And this line stayed with me. A parent's job isn't to stop every fall. It's to be there after the fall. You don't hold the bicycle forever. You step back. If they crash, you take them to the hospital. You don't take the bike away. What makes this so painful isn't the child's behavior. It's the parent's fear of losing control, the quiet grief of becoming less central in someone else's life. And there was another truth that landed hard. If a parent is emotionally overwhelmed, that pain deserves attention, support, reflection, even help, without blaming the child for growing up. Loving someone doesn't mean freezing them in the version that feels safest to us. The third story comes from a woman in her early 50s. She's capable, independent, comfortable being on her own. But lately, aging has started whispering. Her knees ache. Her body feels slower. One night, she laughs out loud at something on TV, and then realizes no one heard it. She wonders if something is wrong with her for being okay alone, and still afraid of being lonely later. What she heard in response reframed everything. Loneliness doesn't come from being alone. It comes from closing the heart. There are people sleeping next to a partner who feel deeply isolated, and there are people living quietly by themselves who feel connected to life. The mistake is waiting for someone to arrive and rescue us from emptiness. No one is born with that job. Connection works best when it isn't medicine, when it isn't an emergency solution. The moment someone senses they're being asked to fix loneliness, they pull away. That landed in my own chest. How often do we say we want love, when what we really want is relief from fear? The message wasn't to lower your standards, it was to lower the walls. Keeping them high is a choice, but every choice comes with a cost. Listening to these stories, I noticed something they all shared: a quiet sense of self-doubt about wanting what they want, wanting companionship at 70, wanting space from your children without feeling like a bad parent, wanting solitude and connection at the same time, wanting love without surrendering yourself. We carry so much shame around desire, especially as we age, as if wanting something means we're ungrateful, immature, or somehow behind. But wanting isn't weakness, it's information, and learning how to listen to it, without panic, without guilt, might be one of the most important skills we develop later in life. The final story comes from a woman married for more than 20 years. Her husband dreams of buying a sailboat and traveling the world. She loves him, but the ocean scares her. So does the idea of losing herself, or losing him. She asks, "Do I follow him, or do I let him go?" The answer she heard was steady and practical. This isn't a moral problem, it's a choice. You don't need certainty before experience. You can try and stop. You can go part way. You can step off. What mattered most was this reminder: you married the whole person, not just the comfortable parts. Dreams don't appear out of nowhere, and love doesn't mean erasing yourself, but love does mean accepting that every choice includes loss. The real suffering comes from wanting everything without giving anything up. That stayed with me. Because at this stage of life, love isn't about grand gestures. It's about honest negotiation with reality. What connects all four of these stories isn't age or status or circumstance. It's that none of us ever outgrow uncertainty. We don't age into perfect answers. We age into better questions. Listening to these everyday people reminded me that doubt doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're paying attention. I'm still learning too, still adjusting, still asking. And if one of these stories gave you language for something you've been carrying quietly, then I'm grateful we shared this moment. Thank you for being here. If one of these four stories felt closest to your life right now, I'd love to hear which one and why. We're all learning, and we don't have to do it alone.